So we have coming up next Dr. Mala Kapadia. She's going to be speaking on Atharva Veda as pedagogy. Dr. Kapadia was professor and director, Center for Wellbeing and Wellness, Rashtraam School of Public Leadership. She's the founder of Human Potential Consulting named Tame the Monkey. Grateful to Gurus, an initiative by Indica Academy selected Dr. Mala Kapadia as one of the Gurus in 2023, inspiring young minds in ancient wisdom of Sanatana Dharma. Dr. Mala is principal investigator for IKS research project MOE GO Government of India in the field of well-being and happiness based on Ayurveda. I would totally endorse this. Just looking at you, there is a sense of well-being. You have this in your personality. There's a very long bio here. Dr. Kapadia was Associate Professor, People and Performance with SP GIMR in 2005-2006. She was an adjunct professor with SP Jain School of Global Management. A lot of publications, a lot of things that if I read, take your that presentation time. So I would rather you come and let your work tell us what you are doing. This is the book that she also. Everybody's getting a copy. Yes.
Gurubhyo Namaha. My gratitude to Mahakala, of course, Indica, Nagraj ji, and Sahana ji. If she had not sent me a personal message saying, Malaji, please write for this conference, this is something that I had been working on for many years and yet not yet completed a full paper. And I'm grateful to Nagraji that he said, unless you submit your paper, you'll not be even coming here and speaking. Because I have so many PowerPoints or thoughts scribbled on a notepad where you go to a conference and you talk about it, but I'm yet to write a full paper on it. So my gratitude that you made it possible for us to do that. To be honest, I've handled many difficult sessions which are like post-lunch, right? When people after a heavy lunch, and I've managed to keep them engaged and awake. But today, right now, I myself is in such a rasik zone that I don't know how I'll be able to really take you all through me. Let me try. Mahakal will help us. My research on emotional intelligence started in around 96, 97. And I said, we have to have an Indic perspective. And that's where my journey into yoga and Ayurveda became more intense, rigorous, and deeper. And because Ayurveda is a Upaveda of Atharva Veda, I started going back to Atharva Veda. I was lucky enough to get introduced to Pandit Satavale Ji Kar's work on Veda, and his book, Atharva Vedika Subodha Bhashya, is one of the primary texts which I have referred here. Being a second-generation teacher, I realized that, oh my God, Atharva Veda has so much. Sorry, can you... Excuse me? I think I touched somewhere wrong. No, I'm right-clicking only, but it's on. Oh. It was happening and it stopped. Yeah, thank you. Also coming from the academic field of psychology, which I left way back in 79, because it was only Western psychology, and I said there is nothing Indic here. That's where Atharva Veda fascinated me, because Atharva Veda is also called Atma Veda, Brahma Veda, because it talks about self-knowledge, which in today's modern language we call metacognition and meta-knowledge, right? It's also called Bheshaja Vaidya because it talks about Vaidya and well-being and health. And also it's called Amrita Veda because it's for humanity to achieve health, and not just health, but a long life. And therefore it's called Amrita Veda. Next, I'll try. Also, when I started reading Pandit Satavlekar ji, I was so happy because I come from Rashram School of Public Leadership where we were teaching public policy. And I realized that ancient kings had Atharvan rishis in their Rajya. Atharva Veda clearly says that a king who wants peace and prosperity should honor and establish Atharva Veda rishis in his Rajya so that at one side there is peace, another side, if there is a Shatru, Atharva Veda, the Angirasa path, because there were also Angirasa rishis who have written Atharva Veda, along with Atharvan Veda rishis. They talk about how to ward off evil, how to ward off Shatru, and how to protect yourself individually, as a society, as a Rashtra. Very important here, the rishis were Jitendriya. I mean, in Chanakya we read, right, that Indriya Jaya is so important at individual level and even a king level. But the rishis here were Indriya Jaya. Still not happening. So the aim of education that is mentioned in Atharva Veda, of course, is spread in 20 kanda or adhyaya. It has 729 sukta and 5977 mantras. And the importance of, or the main aim, today we have people from academics here, and we call it as outcome-based learning today, right? And it's so difficult for most people to write down, or even learning and development. What is the outcome? Because ultimately, from Vedic perspective, outcome of any content or pedagogy is transformation. That's only one word, outcome, right? So here, when I was looking at Atharva Veda, I realized that it's at multiple levels, individual, community, nation, but also samashti, right? The entire cosmos. The main aim or the outcome is Medha Janana. And Pandit Satavlekar ji has an entire granthan titled Medha Janana from Atharva Veda. So he has culled out sutras that relate to Medha Janana. And it also, of course, because today in modern language we call it the scientific temper, the right temper. One of the reasons psychology is called pseudoscience, because they say it's not scientific. And this is where I realized that Ayurveda begins with Padartha Vijnana, which is physics, which is pure science, right? And it's not just physics of Newtonian physics. It's the quantum physics, which is now going back and talking exactly what our rishis were talking. So Medha, in a modern language, we can call it as meta-intelligence, meta-cognition. The beautiful part is that it's not connected with only brain. Brain is just one part of your intelligence. It is utsfurta. It arises from within, and therefore your heart, inclusion of your heart, is extremely important. Saradaita, right, Rasika Jana, it all goes back to heart. And it arises also with the grace of the divine. You cannot just get it from the books or also just a guru. Yesterday somebody said, right, that the Shiva comes as guru, right? So it ultimately comes from the divine, heart-centered. Also it is a dharanavati. Medha is a dharanavati buddhi. Sustainable. In modern language, in OB that I was teaching at SPJ, and you teach knowing, doing gap. So people know, but they don't do it. But when you have Medha, this gap is bridged. Because then you do exactly what you know. Your knowledge is not kept somewhere in your laptop or books, but you carry the knowledge and you apply the knowledge. It is with Medha Buddhi that individuals and societies will have inclusivity harmony and peace. And we all know we lack that in the world today, right? Which I call as 4E crisis. We as humanity, we are going through a 4E crisis, beginning with ethical crisis, which leads to all the 3 crises. Economic crisis, recession, we all know it, they come and they go, they come and they go. Ecological crisis, we've been talking of climate change, ecological disaster, and emotional crisis, because a lot of mental health challenges we as humanity are facing. But we don't realize that economics, ecology, emotions, they go back to ethics, which we call dharma. So the lack of dharma in the way we live, and therefore our pedagogy, not just pedagogy, our content, not just pedagogy and content, but the acharyas, their achara have to be dharmic. And this is what Atharva Veda very beautifully describes. So I'm just taking from Kand 1, first Sukta and the only 4 mantras. Because of the limitation of time, I'm only limiting here, but thanks to Nagraji who said, keep on writing, we'll keep on publishing your papers, right? So this is only a first part, I would say, of my paper on Atharva Veda. What does the learner wants to learn? How should it be taught, which is the pedagogy? However, what is the relationship between Acharya and learner? This is all given here, and now I'll get into each words that I've put as bold here. So, pre-pedagogy, right? Even before we come to pedagogy, there is competency of Acharya and the intent of the Acharya. Am I an assistant professor who wants to become associate professor and then the dean and the director and the vice chancellor? I mean, I would go back to Bhagavad Gita and say that is Asuri Sampat. That is just my extension of my career growth, right? So here the learner, imagine this 4 mantra, the learners are telling the Acharya, how should you teach me? Devena manasa. So teach me with a Devena bhava. Because unless you have that Deva bhava within you, I will not be able to develop that Deva bhava within me. The Acharya has been called by 3 different names, Vachaspati, Vasoshpati, and in another Pippala, edition of Atharva Veda, the Acharya is also called Asospati. Now, Pati means self-mastery, right? Pati is the leadership quality, but Pati first and foremost means self-mastery. Now, Vachaspati, it's not just communication skills, but your Vacha, the Vacha of the Guru, has to come from Paravani. The highest Vani, which if the Guru has, then the highest knowledge can be downloaded by the Guru and given to the learner. Vasoshpati, Vasu can be translated in various ways, and this is the beauty of Sanskrit. Vasu means cow. Vasu means prosperity, right? So the Guru has to have prosperity. Also, Ashospati. Asu means Ashwa, but Asu means Prana. So the Guru has to have self-mastery on his or her Prana to be able to have or be in that Paravani zone, to be able to teach with Devena Manasa. What am I doing wrong? Yeah. So we talk of self-actualization and self-transcendence in modern terms, right? However, what is the highest self-actualization and self-transcendence? Now, these are all the modern terms I wrote because my exposure to modern vocabulary. But when I was reading Atharva Veda, it says, I invite these devtas. Who are the devtas? Soma, Savita, and all the Adityas in the cosmos. I invite them to show me the path of Uttaratva. I have to grow, but that growth need not be only materialistic. My growth has to be in the Uttaratva. And that only a Guru who has achieved that kind of growth will be able to help me walk on that path. And now I think invoking devtas is missing from today's pedagogy, right? I don't know how many of us start with a prayer, but even in SPJ in global at centers at Dubai and Singapore and Sydney, I could start my class with a Sanskrit prayer, breathing to calm them down, and end my session with breathing so that when they go home or when they are taking the next session, they are more in a relaxed zone. Now comes the pedagogy part. Of course, we all know, and in the management, we say Harvard. Harvard is the Kashi and Ujjain from where we get the source, right? So, playful, joyful, whatever they call, only one word the Rishi have used, Niramaya. Teach me in a playful way. Make my, learning a joy. It shouldn't, listening to Sushriti was such a joy, right? So I can just only imagine how her childhood would have been. That you are learning, but you are not forceful learning. Yesterday also somebody said there was no danda, right? So there was more joy in learning. Also the relationship.
Balaji, 5 minutes more.
Yeah, sure. The relationship between a student and a teacher is that of a bow and an arrow. So a bow will have two ends which are connected with a string, right? And the acharya and the learner has to be connected like this. So the acharya has to be not just self-mastery but stay in a self-discipline and guide me to be self-disciplined. We only have to look at our campuses today to know if we are able to have this. Also, the learner says we are inviting the acharya to teach by asking questions. Now, asking questions, and I've used it without reading, even before my reading of Atharva Veda, that I give pre-reading, and we all know any pre-reading, none of the learners read it. But when we say I'm going to make it question-based, right? So you question me and I will answer. And I think that was wonderful pedagogy that if we can bring back, we have forgotten it. And they can ask questions only if they have done not just reading, but thinking. And that thinking comes from Medha. Half my time is going into trying to change the slide. So now the content. And I'll not... my paper is there, everyone will be able to read it. What is the content that is needed to create Medha, the higher intelligence? And that's where the learner tells the guru that teach me 3 into 7, 21. 3 is Triguna, 7 is Panchmahabhuta, Panchatanmatra, and Ahankara. This is what Pandit Satavalejikar's translation is. So what is the cosmos made up of, which has given you Bala? You teach me that so I become like you. And if this content we are able to integrate in everything that we teach, right? And therefore, I honestly believe that psychology and philosophy should become the foundation of every discipline that we are teaching. It's not only for somebody who wants to specialize in psychology. Because what Atharva Veda says is that Medha Janan is important for an individual's health and well-being. But Medha Janan will only create a buddhi which is inclusive, so there is peace in society. There is oneness in society. My buddhi is coming from the highest knowledge and from devatas. And this is exactly what Sri Aurobindo said, that the original thinking, right? Today one of the criticism about our youth is that they don't think. We need to introspect and look at our own education to see we are invoking the higher intelligence. So in summary, only the 4 mantras, imagine, so there is so much more when we look at Atharva Veda. And this is all, the paper will be there, and lot of dots are getting connected. I'm really going fast, but when you read the paper, you realize that all our, thoughts, all our ideas that we have been, I have Yarmuna's quotation, I have Sahanaji's quotations in the full paper. Namaskaram, dhanyavadaha.
Thank you so much. Please stand because there might be questions. Yes. Munit Dhimanji having a question. Telalji,
Thank you. Namaste, Malaji.
Namaste, Munit ji.
Always a pleasure to hear you speak. Very nice put what you mentioned here. At least you got 4 verses. I am connected to ISKCON for my personal journey, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave a discourse for 1 month on the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. so our scriptures are so deep.
Absolutely.
They're so deep that you can actually do a PhD on even a single verse
Very true. Very
from
true.
These scriptures. One very beautiful point that you mentioned is the playful part. And the second point which connected me was the last point that you made.
Trishaptam.
This. Sorry, it will. Sorry. No, I will. When it comes to me, I will. So, no. Yeah, that is the joyful one. So the very important point to understand there, what Sanaji also told was that joy maybe necessarily doesn't mean only in a very happy or because even if the acharya scolds the student, that also is a part of the whole learning journey and that student, what she was mentioning about, enjoyed that part of being scolded by his acharya.
True.
Also
Very true.
because the underlying fabric is love, and shraddha between the acharya and the student.
True.
Thank you.
Dhanyavada.
No, the person I mentioned was Pandit Nikhil Banerjee. So when I listen to his music, I feel like I've reached moksha, that kind of music. And then when I hear that he got beaten black and blue for something when he was learning, it's very hard for me to imagine. But then he's very grateful for that. That's how he produces that music.
I think it was a very enlightening session. Thank you for that. I did more of an understanding. I think you said your paper will come. You talk about Medha Janan. And today, I think today's world, there is lot of focus has got to mental wellness and mental well-being, especially post-pandemic. And even corporations are spending millions and trillions of dollars behind it. So how do we connect this? Make some of the people who have been pioneers in this field from so-called Western world, like Stephen Covey referred the Eastern wisdom. I'm not sure about Daniel Goleman, who is considered to be the one of the thing for emotional intelligence. But how do you connect this to the roots? Because I think it is very, as you mentioned, the 4E crisis. This is more of the crisis they are going back.
Absolutely.
It is not because of the thing, right? So how do you envision it? How can we make a paradigm shift in this? Because in today's corporate world, everything is outcome focused. There is a problem, you just have an EAP program and do it. While our approach is completely different of Rishi. So how can we bring this Rishi's pedagogy in a very different way in today's world and make a paradigm shift? That's a big challenge. So what are your thoughts about that?
Sure. I would connect this. I will go back to what Srinivas ji yesterday said, right? From data to information, knowledge to wisdom. Now, Medha gives us wisdom. Also, Medha is not about brain. Medha is about learning that happens in the heart. And it also happens because of your connection or your guru's connection with the higher intelligence. So it's a connected thing, right? And therefore, your lifestyle, your sattvic lifestyle, the food you eat, the way you live, right? Today's engineering colleges, students don't take bath for a week. It's once a week ritual. I mean, in MBA college, I have had girls come to me and say, please don't be put in that group for that guy, he doesn't even take a bath. So, I mean, if we don't have simple yama niyama shaucha in our everyday life, how will we have wisdom? Also, I have read a lot of Western papers on wisdom, or what they call, but it's far away from pragya and medha. They are still looking at intellectual, cognitive, mental, brain-limited processes. Medha includes the whole person, not just the whole person's, but the whole person's connection with the cosmos and the cosmic intelligence. And that's the paradigm shift that we need, whether it's at school education, college education, learning and development in organizations.
I just to respond to your question and this very beautiful presentation. I think the link is what Yamunaji's presentation yesterday was. All of this is being done in the domain of the arts. Right from developing emotional intelligence to that playfulness, and in a very playful way actually carrying you to extremely subtle ideas, is all happening in the domain of arts. And it does not require literacy, it does not require any great Shastra, nothing. It requires for us to pay attention to traditional arts in India. The way it should be done, and not in front of an audience, but in a community. Exactly the way that she presented yesterday.
Very true. Dhanyavada. Also, when you say Vachaspati, Vasoshpati, Asoshpati, a lot of sadhana as a part of the guru is very important. I mean, if I can share something very personal in this group, I was a very different person. I wish I had my before and after videos, I would have never imagined myself standing like this here on a stage and talk to the audience. But my own sadhana of Lalita, Lalita is playfulness. She has really, honestly transformed me from within. And our own sadhana only can transform us. And when we transform, we are able to share it with the others. So we cannot say, I'll read a book and make a PPT and teach someone what is playfulness. That playfulness has to come from your own heart. And that can come only when you are doing a particular sadhana. Yeah, Munit ji.
वो पॉइंट याद आ गया मुझे जो मैं आपने you made a very good point that psychology should be a part of, everybody should learn it. It should not just be an optional point. And philosophy. So you are a proponent of, that very subject. Traditionally, if I may point out or bring it, it was known as the Ayurveda and the yoga part, correct?
Right.
So why don't you please share, in a short, what does it mean? Psychology and philosophy in, everybody learning it.
Sure. When I was disappointed with the curriculum of psychology, I left, honestly, the field of formal psychology way back in 79 in 2 years. 2 years of college, and I said, enough, psychology is not for me. I did my MA and then PhD in Gujarati Sahitya. In fact, that gave me more understanding of what is psychology. Then, of course, my deeper interest took me to the field of Ayurveda and yoga and Atharva Veda because of the Ayurveda journey. And then I realized that why don't we have any subject like psychology in our tradition? Because psychology was a foundation in philosophy, in music, in dance, in theatre, Natya Shastra, everywhere. So there was no psychology as such. In fact, this is where last year, I'm again grateful to Hariji, Dimple, and my curating of an index psychology course. And of course, Indutai, right, Punarutthan Vidyapith, who made me write a book on Bharatiya Manas Shastra. And then I realized that we have to take out from philosophy, we have to take out from Natya Shastra, we have to take out from every other field which has a part of our tradition. And when you collate that, you realize, yes, this is meta-knowledge, this is wisdom, this is metacognition. This is what the modern world calls psychology. And this is where I was talking to these two beautiful women from SIES who are in the philosophy and psychology department. I'm happy to know they are clubbed together in SIES, right? They are not separate. They were a part of our living. And Ayurveda was a part of our life. It was called, in Gujarat, we have a lot of even books today which is called Dadi Manu Vaidu, which means the Vaidak or Ayurveda from a grandmother. Unfortunately, today in our own families, we don't have grandmothers either staying with us or not even having, women of my age don't have the knowledge of Ayurveda, unfortunately. So if we can bring back that knowledge back in us first, rather than blaming the woke generation, they are our creation.
Since you mentioned about Yoga Sutra, there is one Patanjali Yoga Sutra, is Rutambara Tatra Prajna, and you're talking about Meda and Prajna. So is that also related to the kind of a concept you were alluding in?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's connected, very strongly connected. That's why I said they follow Rita or Dharma. Dharma word came much later in our literature. Earlier it was called Rita. And it was only observed by our rishis who were real scientists by observing what's happening in the cosmos. What rhythm are they following? What is sun following? What are seasons following? And that Rita was seen because Pindete Brahmande. One of the Maulik Siddhanta of Ayurveda is the Loka Purusha Samya Siddhanta. We and Loka are the same. So if we are the same, what happens in my body when there are changes in the external cosmos or environment? And if I'm aligned, I'm sure at Vidyakshetra you are doing it, but when you are aligned with the cosmos, then the intelligence, you are living the intelligence. And then becoming wiser or having the medha is very easy.
Ma'am,
Ji.
adding to Vinalji's point and actually question also, and because I know that Munit ji and Lalita ji, they are going to present about Panchakoshas today. And also, Sushruti ma'am talked about communities and rasa in communities. Would there be a way to add and integrate Koshik intelligence, which comes from Ayurveda and Atharva Veda, and also Taittiriya Upanishad?
All our tradition, right?
Exactly,
Panchamahabhuta,
yeah.
Triguna, Panchakosha is everywhere.
Exactly, everywhere. So Veda, Upanishad, Vedanga, it's there everywhere.
Everywhere.
Integrate that Koshik intelligence, assimilate that, which is already there in the arts. Okay. Assimilate that into the sciences and, the hard sciences, what we call, and kind of redefine them according, in the style of Koshik. Yeah. Yeah, add Koshik intelligence, if I were to use that lingo, but...
No, so this is what I feel, that you can't integrate, people talk of, thanks to NEP, people talk of integrating IKS. I can't integrate IKS. I can't superimpose IKS on the mainstream Western psychology curriculum, right? So I have to teach it parallelly and then let people discover what are the commonalities, where is this better or superior. So the entire anatomy, according to our Vedic perspective, is very different. My biology is very different. So I can't learn about stomach and pancreas and liver separately. And then, unfortunately, this is what is happening to Ayurveda curriculum today. Out of 5 years of BMS, 2.5 years they learn Ayurveda, 2.5 years they learn modern medicine. So in Gujarati we say, Bhavana Bev Bagda. That means you have left your Gruhastha ashram, but you have not been able to become a sannyasi. So you are neither a sannyasi nor a Gruhastha. So I would say, learn one science because it's deep enough to spend not just one lifetime, but lifetimes, right? So when you learn Panchakosha, there is no similarity in mainstream or Western education. How do you superimpose? In fact, I'm so grateful to the modern Gurukulas because the entire education psychology curriculum there is nothing Indian there. It is all Western. The child psychology is very Western. Now, yesterday, someone spoke of nature and nurture, right? Yamuna spoke of nature and nurture. What do you nurture? First, you understand the nature from Panchamahabhuta, from Triguna. What am I born with? What is my current template? And what do you nurture? You nurture what is my signature strength depending on my constitution. So there is no standardization, right? Which kosha to develop? Each kosha has to develop. Ultimately, you have to live from each kosha till you leave your body. Your Annamaya kosha also has to be healthy. So I cannot say Annamaya kosha is not important. Isn't it? So we need to have a parallel movement of learning Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. I won't even call it IKS. Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, learn it. We have already seen the limitation of the Western education, right? We all are talking about it. So have the courage to say, this is real Jnana. I am a part of Parampara. This is what I have learned. This is what I give to the next generation. And let them take it forward. Namaskar.
Before we move on to Choi, as always, I would like to respond. Muniji, you were asking about philosophy and psychology. How to do that? Nomesh ji remembers when I was attending IKS Mela Delhi also, I was demanding for this. What's happening currently in all the universities is the School of Humanities, Faculty of Humanities, is the Dalit Wada of the university. The humanities schools are somewhere thrown out, and the most funded are the technology and the sciences departments. Next comes the social sciences. They started calling themselves social sciences only because they saw that the tag sciences gives them more funds. And what are being called as humanities are non-sciences, a word very close to nonsense. And it is here that philosophy department is located. This philosophy department is always part of these non-sciences. Whereas the reality is, as king of kings, philosophy was the science of sciences. And even today, the contemporary universities give the highest degree as Doctor of Philosophy only, but they don't acknowledge the centrality of philosophy within any university system. So what has to happen is demand for the centrality to come back. It happened in the Greco-Roman culture. We are not asking for something very Indian, Indic, which is frowned upon. We are asking for something which happened in the Greco-Roman culture, which is looked at upon as a classical background of this contemporary thing, right? So just bring it back. You contemporary, Western, your classical background had philosophy, man. You just bring it back. Just that demand. It was all Plato, Socrates. Just bring it back. Okay? Then we can bring back all our philosophy as part of that. When philosophy comes back, psychology automatically comes back. Actually, there was, in my childhood, when psychology was coming up as a discipline, there was a funny folktale formula they used to recite. In that folktale, the story goes that, there was a sword, and the sword went away, and a dole came, and the dole went away, and something else came. And using that formula, people used to say that religion went away and psychology came. Because they saw that everything that religion was doing was psychology was doing. So now they realize all over the places psychology is happening already. They don't use that word. They don't give the department the due place. But if you go to corporate managerial classes, executive coaching, very big fat. No, there are so many things happening with psychology, but they don't tell you. Last thing, when I was organizing the biggest Vakyartha Sadas at Varanasi, it seems in the northern side, in the UP, there is a culture of giving a publicity through press for any event. And the press people come. All the press people were sitting, and they were asking the scholars, Shastra scholars, what is this all about? Shastra scholars ran away. They said, हमको कुछ पता नहीं, ये सब हमको बुलाए हैं, ये आपको बताएंगे क्या चल रहा है. And I was sitting, I was left alone in front of the whole wolves of the press people, and they were asking me, ये क्या चल रहा है? I told them, आप कंप्यूटर जानते हैं ना? कंप्यूटर के पीछे जो चलता है वो बहुत अनअंडरस्टैंडेबल है, वो समझ में नहीं आता है. वो जो समझ में नहीं आता है कंप्यूटर के पीछे, वो यहाँ चल रहा है. कंप्यूटर के पीछे चलता है, आपके मशीन्स के पीछे चलता है, कार के पीछे चलता है, जो कुछ भी चलता है ना, वो किसी के समझ में नहीं आता, आपके समझ में भी ये नहीं आएगा, फिर भी इससे कंप्यूटर, कार, एरोप्लेन वगैरह सब चलेंगे, उसके पीछे जो भी है वो चल रहा है। नेक्स्ट डे इन द पेपर दैट वाज द बैनर, कंप्यूटर को जो चलाते हैं उसके पीछे जो है उसके बारे में एक सदस्य चल रहा है ना, सबके पीछे यही चल रहा है, इसके बारे में हम चलाएंगे।